So don't ever let somebody tell you that just because they'd be okay with something that you shouldn't be bothered by it. But I think the difference between he's only human and that's not okay is like, we just do it all the time and I don't know why. Things take time. You mainly brought me pain. You mainly brought me pain. So, you know, I'll sort this myself. And this is coming from somebody who was also in a toxic relationship and desperately needed closure. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back. So it has been a month since we last sat down, sorted our lives out, sorted our dilemmas out. So I think it's about time we sat down and did that again, don't you? So I've got my coffee, my big oversized baggy hoodie on. I'm not wearing a bra, so pause this video, take your bra out, let the nips breathe, let the nips free, put your hoodie on and get your coffee, and we'll just dive right on into this. Oh, I have a snotty nose. Schnotz. Also, I would really appreciate it if you could smash a thumbs up and leave a comment down below, even if it's just a little heart. It would really help me out in terms of the YouTube algorithm and helping other people find me and my channel. So yeah, if you do that, you are a real one. You're real. So jumping into our first question. I had this really toxic boyfriend in the past and I need closure somehow, but I don't know what to do. Okay, and I thought this was a really interesting one because it's something that I have experienced before, and also I think something most people have experienced, and if not will experience in their life, is needing closure. And whether that be from a relationship or if you were just seeing someone, that sense of needing closure, oh my god, oh. Closure is something that a lot of us need in order to leave something in the past and be able to move forward, and just for us to be able to process it in our brains. But sometimes closure isn't the best thing to do, and it isn't the best way to go, and sometimes closure may actually end up hurting you more than it ends up healing you or helping you. It's such a hard one because I really do think it comes down to the circumstances, and it comes down to like a lot of things. Sometimes we want closure because we're having trouble letting go of that person, and we think if we get closure, that means that we'll get some more attention off them and we'll get to speak to them again, and maybe we'll get to hug them. Like, sometimes people do want closure for the wrong reasons and they're just in denial of letting that person and letting that relationship really go. But if it is a case that you want closure for the right reasons, I honestly think that if it was a toxic relationship, it's best to not get closure. And this is coming from somebody who was also in a toxic relationship and desperately needed closure after the relationship, and closure was never something I got from that person. That person just would not give me closure, and sometimes people won't give you closure because they then feel like they have one up on you. They then feel like you are suffering more. It makes them feel better by not giving you what you need, you know? But after I didn't get closure from my toxic relationship, I ended up finding closure in myself. So it's just something that I do want to put out there, is that you can find closure in yourself. You do not always need to get closure from the other person, because at the end of the day, right, they don't want to be with you. You're not happy with this person, they're not happy with you, you guys don't work together. Really, that's all you need to know. Like, that is all you need to know. After that, I feel like you can do the work yourself. After my toxic relationship, and it was months after it ended, and I still needed closure and I wasn't processing the breakup in my head, and what I actually ended up doing was writing a letter to my ex. And basically I was writing this letter as if I was going to give it to him, and I was saying everything how I felt, you know. Yeah, so I was basically like writing a letter of closure that I knew I was never going to send to him, but I was just pouring out all my feelings and all my thoughts and everything he had put me through during the relationship. And I just wrote this like 3-4 A4 page letter, and I kind of just left it in my room for a few days, but then I ended up like ripping it up and throwing it out. And I remember after doing that, I felt so much better. The way it was in my head at the time was, this person had hurt me so much and all I needed was closure, but I didn't want to give them the satisfaction of knowing I needed closure when they treated me so badly. They abused me mentally, they abused me physically, they had nothing, nasty words. Like, I was like, I am not giving that person that power anymore. They have had that power over me long enough, you know. I can find this bloody closure in myself. I can heal myself. I don't need you to freaking do it for me. You mainly brought me pain. so, you know, I'll sort this myself. I know that was quite a long-winded answer, but I just think it's important to put that out there to anyone else coming out of a toxic relationship. You know, you don't always need that closure. I feel like it's much easier to get closure if it wasn't toxic, if it was more of a joint breakup, or if it was just a healthy relationship, you know, and you guys had good communication. It's a lot easier to get closure in them situations than when there was awful communication, it was toxic, it was physical, mentally abusive, you know. I feel like we have to remind ourselves that everything we need is inside of us. Like, there is nothing another person can give us that we cannot give to ourselves. We have everything we need in ourselves, you know, and you've got to remind yourself of that, because sometimes you can get so caught up and you can have someone on such a pedestal that you really do think that they're the only person that can do X, Y, and Z for you. But no, baby girl, I'm sorry, you can do X, Y, Z, B, C, A, D, and F, and all the bloody letters. So advise them what to do if boyfriend blames you for 80% of the issues in the relationship. His words. That is what I think of that. Disgusting. Okay, but honestly... Okay, but on a serious note, sorry about that. Okay, so when two people get into a relationship, you know, most of us are bringing baggage with us, whether it be a dysfunctional family past, a childhood, whether it be mental health issues, depression, anxiety, bipolar, whether it be toxic relationships and you have trust issues now and you've been cheated on. And, you know, as humans, we tend to bring baggage with us into relationships. It's just the way it is. We all have our own baggage. Some of us have a lot more baggage than others. And when two people get into a relationship, one person does tend to more than likely come in with more baggage than the other. So like, this person might have this much and this person might only have this much. And normally the person who comes in with more baggage does maybe create, you could say, more problems. Let's take me as an example, okay? So I was in a couple of really bad toxic relationships with a lot of lying, cheating, betrayal, and yeah, as you can imagine, that has really affected me. So in a relationship, you know, trust is something that I can struggle with. So in a relationship, you know, trust is something that really has to be built and earned, and it's something that I can struggle with because of my past. So therefore, something might happen and I am like wanting to speak about a matter because I'm struggling with trust in my head. You could say I'm creating that problem because I am bringing the problem into the relationship. So I don't think what he's saying is a bad thing, but it comes down to the way he said it. As in, did he say it as like thrown at you in an argument? If he was like, you cause all the problems in our relationship, well, that's not helpful for anything and anyone, and I think you need a new freaking boyfriend, because that's just a blame game. That's nasty, that's unnecessarily, that's not supportive, that's not understanding. That's not what you need in a partner, okay? Or maybe it was a case that he said this to you because maybe you were putting the blame on him for certain things and he was just trying to get you to see that maybe it was your trust issues or your mental health that was causing a lot of the problems in the relationship, and he was just trying to get you to understand that. I think it really comes down to the way he said it to you. But if it was him throwing it in your face, that is not what you need, because yes, more than likely one person is bringing in more baggage and more problems per se, even though that's such a wrong word to use. A lot of the time we know this before getting into a relationship. Like, a lot of the time this is stuff you do kind of know if it's mental health or it's past relationships. So it's not like you were in the relationship 6 months and then you found out all this stuff and you're like, oh, you're creating all these problems, I didn't know you had all this baggage with it. You know, when you're getting into a relationship, you're choosing that person, you're choosing to work through shit with that person and get through shit and be a team and become stronger and, you know, get past obstacles and be stronger on the other end of it. You know what I mean? Like, relationships aren't all flowers and butterflies and rainbows. Like, relationships can be very difficult and they take a lot of time and a lot of work. So if he's not willing to work with you on your stuff, then I just don't think this is somebody that you could see yourself being with long term, because, you know, it takes time to get through toxic relationships, mental health, you know, if you're going to therapy, whatever it is, things take time. Knowing where to draw the line between he's only human and that's not okay. Such a good question, you know that. Such a good freaking question. I feel like this is such an important one because I feel like a lot of the time, and I've seen myself do it so many times and my friends do it, and we just do it all the time and I don't know why. We know somebody is treating us wrong or disrespecting us, but we make all these excuses in our head and we convince ourselves, oh, well, it's because because like his mother said this to him that one time when he was 7 years old. And it's like, no. I think when it comes to he's only human, we've got to realise that we all make mistakes. We all fuck up. Like in a relationship, you are going to hurt your partner. You are going to mess up sometimes, time to time, now and again. It's just what happens. And if you don't mess up, you can't learn then, and then you can't better your relationship and you cannot grow as a person. Absolutely none of us are perfect and we can all be a little bit shit sometimes, but I think the difference between he's only human and that's not okay is like, that is not okay if someone is making you doubt yourself or doubt your self-worth. That is not okay if somebody is making you freaking cry all the time. That is not okay if someone is disrespecting you and belittling you and making you feel small and making you feel like absolutely nothing. That is not okay. It is not okay if somebody is physically abusing you or mentally abusing you or manipulating you. That is not okay. Yes, we all mess up and we all make mistakes from time to time, but if somebody is repetitively doing the same thing again and again and isn't changing their ways, even though you've expressed to them how much something hurts you or bothers you, that is not okay. I honestly think you know in your heart if it's not okay. And something else to note is that if it's not okay for you, you know, there might be something that's okay for someone else and it might not be okay for you. It might not be what you want or are willing to accept in a relationship, and that's also okay. We all have our own wants and our own needs in relationships with somebody that we're with, and that is also okay. So don't ever let somebody tell you that just because they'd be okay with something that you shouldn't be bothered by it. It doesn't work like that. We're all very different. We're all very unique. I would honestly say, like, really look inwards and see how you're feeling. What is your gut telling you? What is your heart telling you? Is this wrong? Because if it is, it probably is wrong. Because anytime I've kind of been having them feelings like what you're saying, like, am I overreacting? Is this just bang out of order? Like, I normally am doing what you're doing here because I'm trying to convince myself. I'm trying to convince myself that it's okay, he's only human, but when really at the back of my mind I knew that it wasn't okay and I was completely being mistreated. So the guy I'm newly seeing won't shut up about his ex. Should I just cut my losses and run now? Okay, so with this question, I feel like it completely depends on the situation and like which sense in the word he's talking about his ex. So obviously you said you guys are just newly seeing each other, so you are getting to know each other, you are at that level. So is it a case of he keeps talking about his ex and he's just telling you about his past relationship, what didn't work for him, what did work for him? Is he just explaining to you what he does and doesn't want in his next relationship by referring to his past relationship? Or is it a case that he's like, oh, me and Becca used to get ice cream here, and oh my god, one time like Becca bought me a jumper from this shop, and oh my god, Becca used to sing that song? Or is it a case of that? Like, is it a case of he's just bringing her up at any chance he gets? If it's a case that he's bringing her up at any chance he gets, and if he is recently out of this relationship, like it's quite a new breakup, I would say cut your losses and run, because he's clearly not over her. He's looking for a bit of a rebound thing, like most people do after a breakup if they're heartbroken. So yeah, I would honestly say for your benefit, run a freaking mile and start running now. But if it's just the other way, I honestly don't think it's an issue at all. I would actually think it would be more of a good thing. It means that he just knows what he wants. He's trying to be very upfront with you, and maybe he clearly wants a relationship, so he's trying to let you know what his needs and wants are if you guys got to that stage in the future, you know. So I feel like it's a situation you're gonna have to read, but you know, that's what I think. How to know if you were settling in a relationship or just feel comfortable. So first things first, I'm just gonna say that if you are asking me this question, that in itself says to me that you are having thoughts that you think you may be settling, or that you're just too comfortable. And the fact that you asked me that, I think says a lot on itself. So before I say anything else, just really think about that. I mean, everyone's kind of going to have a different opinion on this, but I'm just going to run through a few things that I feel would be a sign that it's something you'd maybe need to think about. So the first thing would be, like, if you're restless around your partner, you should be able to completely relax and feel 110% comfortable around them. If you're trying to convince yourself you're not settling for whatever reason, which is what I was saying to you, the fact that you asked me this says that it's something in the back of your head that you're thinking about. Another thing would be if you're thinking about somebody else. If somebody else is on your mind a lot more than your partner is, that would also be a sign that you're not really in it and you're just a little bit comfortable maybe. maybe. I feel like another one would be if you don't feel like you can do better. I feel like a lot of people get in this mindset, especially if you have very low self-esteem or you're quite insecure. You can really like be like, this is the best I can do. And you see a lot of people in toxic relationships feeling like that because they get very manipulated. I actually felt like that at one stage in my life because I was just being so manipulated that I was like convinced myself I could not do better. If that is a reason why you were staying with somebody, you are settling. You should not be feeling like I'm only with this person because I cannot do any better. You should be wanting to choose that person every day. It shouldn't be a case of like, well, I can't do better, they'll do. It should be a case of like, I choose you because I want you. If they're constantly trying to change or control you, I feel like this is a big sign that you're settling. You can do so much better than that. You should not be controlled by anyone. I've been controlled in past relationships and it's not a road you want to go down. If someone's not making you, if they're not making you feel safe physically or mentally, like, you know, I feel like as humans, like all we crave is just to feel safe in our relationship and, you know, just not be worried or concerned. And I feel like you should feel safe, like you deserve to be in a relationship where you feel safe. You're committing yourself to this person, you're giving this person so much of you deserve to feel safe. I'd say another few things that off the top of my head would be like, if they're constantly putting you down or belittling you as a person or like throwing digs at you as a person and your character, that is a real red flag and a bad sign. And lastly, I'd say if they don't support you and your dreams and your goals and just what you want from life, you know, your partner should be your number one supporter. And if they're not, then you are settling, and yes, you can do better and you're just too comfortable and they are not the best you can do, okay? You need to hear that. You can do better. I feel like quite a lot of people do settle, but I feel like it's the worst thing you can do. Like, I honestly think it's way worse being with the wrong person than it is being on your own. Like, don't just get into a relationship with absolutely anybody just because you're lonely and you want to have someone there and they'll do. Like, no, like it is not going to benefit you in any ways in the long run. All it will actually do is harm you in the long run. Stay freaking single if you're not feeling it, if you're not in it, if they're not fulfilling your needs and that is not what you want and they're not what you want, then just stay single because you have so much time. You will find your person will find you. If it doesn't feel right, if you're having doubts, it's because it's not right. You know, you wouldn't be having doubts and all these worries and asking yourself, are you settling, if you weren't settling. So start listening to our gut. We need to start listening to our gut and listening to our freaking hearts more often. We need to stop letting this take over because this gets us into really bad situations. This convinces us that we're being silly and they're just human and just because they're disrespecting us, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Oh my god, I've been filming for so long and I think I've only answered like 5 questions, but I feel like they needed in-depth answers. Like, I feel like some of these videos we get through loads of questions really quickly, and some of these videos we need a little bit more time on each question because we really need to address the issue, you know, and try and help my friends out as much as I possibly can. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I always have so much fun filming these videos. We will have another one coming next month, so follow me on Instagram to get your questions in for that one. So that is a wrap. I really hope some of you guys found this helpful. I love you all so very much and I'll see you guys super duper soon. Bye bye, friends.